The bulk of me being in labor between like 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock was just me blasting Lil Wayne, Lollipop, dancing around on that front porch in Brooklyn, letting my neighbors know to call me so that I can make a juicy for them. Hi everyone, my name is Chris, and my husband and I have 5 kids with 1 on the way, our last baby. We have 3 boys and 2 girls, and you can check out our gender reveal. Today we are going to be talking about what our experience was like having a home birth. Now, 10 years ago we gave birth to our 2nd son at home, at my mother's home in Brooklyn, New York, and it was honestly the most transformative experience of my life. And I've had several other completely natural, drug-free births since then, and I wanted to talk about it. And so I'm hoping that any of you out there who are interested in having a home birth, maybe you don't know anyone who's ever had a home birth, or maybe the home birth stories that you see are from people who don't necessarily seem like you or look like you or seem to have your interests or anything like that. Ideally, that's what my goal with this video is, to give you information about what my experience was like, and hopefully you'll feel inspired to go ahead and try your hand at a home birth too. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button so that way you let me and YouTube know that you appreciate my content, and then YouTube is more likely to recommend my video and my channel to other people with like interests. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Okay, so we're just gonna jump right in and start talking about how we even decided that we wanted to have a home birth to begin with. We gave birth to our first child in 2007, and we gave birth in a hospital, and I went through the motions. I got Pitocin and stuff to like help the contractions along and stuff. I just kind of went along with what I thought I was supposed to be doing. Right. But it was a positive experience. I didn't have any negative experience. I had a vaginal birth. When it was time to push, things, you know, progressed pretty quickly. But when it came time to have my our second child a year later, I was 23, and we had actually just moved by my mother. Yeah, in Brooklyn. In Brooklyn. Yeah. Before that we were in Yonkers, New York. YO, stand up. But yeah, we were in Yonkers the year before. We decided we wanted to save up some money to decide what our next move was going to be as a young family, and so we moved in with my mother, which we knew we were going to stay there for about a year. I decided that I wanted to try and see what a home birth was like. We saw the documentary, I think it was called The Business of Being Born. Business of Being Born. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. I will put a link to it if I can find it in the description box below. What was that, like a HBO special? No, it was Ricky Lake. Yeah, it was totally independent. Ricky Lake, the talk show host from back in the 90s, who I used to be obsessed with. She kind of had fallen out of the spotlight, but out of nowhere she sort of resurfaced, talking about her experience deciding to have a home birth. And so I watched that documentary at my mother's house. It was a great documentary. I was about 26 weeks at the time, and I had had my doctor's appointment and everything, and my new doctor in Brooklyn at my mother's hospital. Everyone there was nice. The doctor was really great. Again, no negative experience pushed me to this. It was just this thing intuitively inside of me, and that is kind of one of the first little tips that I'll give you. If the reason you clicked on this video is because there's sort of something inside of you and it's nagging and pulling, and you feel like maybe you did have a negative first birth experience, or maybe you just were like me, and even though your experience wasn't negative, you just want something different, you know? And you just feel in your heart that there's this sort of calling. And for me, it sounds very sappy to say it, but it's almost like the baby that I was having, he wanted to be born at home. Let me talk about the night of. So my son was due May 30th, 2008, and by June 7th, he still had not come. That's a whole week. I was 41 weeks pregnant, and I had asked my midwife, I said, is this okay? She said, you're fine. You know, those are just estimates anyway. Right. And so on June 7th at exactly 12 a.m., I was on Baby Center, which if you are pregnant right now, you're probably on Baby Center in the other tab, because that's how I am anytime I'm pregnant. But I was on Baby Center literally reading, is 41 weeks too long to be pregnant? No joke. And I started feeling like I needed to use the bathroom. I needed to pee really badly. I got up, I walked out of the bedroom, and then I just felt this warm gush and I looked down
in the
doorway between my bedroom and the bathroom. I just felt this warm gush.
I remember that.
And I was like, I looked down and my water had broken. But at first I thought and this always happens with me. Even if I'm 41 weeks pregnant, if I feel water gushing down, I just immediately assume I peed myself. So I was 7 days past my due date, but I was like, wow, I really just peed myself in this hallway. But it was just so extra warm that I was like, or maybe it's something else. So I was like, Waylon, I think my water just broke. And he's like, okay. Like, he's just like the coolest, most laid back, you know, on TV or like even in videos that go viral, you have those husbands that are like, whoa, whoa. Yeah. He's the opposite of that. He's just like, all right, let's do this. We're doing this. I was like, okay. And that was it. He was just like, let's do this. So he's like, what do you want to do? I was like, well, I want to go shower in case this is just pee. But I went to the shower, and when I tell you, immediately those contractions started coming. Now, I don't know that anybody had ever really described contractions to me, even for my first pregnancy, but if you've never had contractions, this is literally all that it feels like. Really bad period pains. Not the worst period pains you've ever felt. Now, can you even wrap your brain around that? I've had period pains that were worse than all of the multiple unmedicated labors that I've had, labor and deliveries. So I was in the shower, I had the water beating down on my back, and it was just like really uncomfortable period pains. I mean, that thing started immediately, like right after my water broke. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be really interesting. So that was around 12 o'clock, and I had called my midwife. She was out to dinner with her family, and she was just like, yeah, just keep track of the contractions and call me back. I didn't actually go into active labor until around 5 o'clock, and even then I was in active labor for maybe half an hour. And let me explain. So pretty much right after I came out of the shower, I told my mom, I told my sister that my water had just broken, and my sister and I just kind of hung out in the kitchen playing Uno. We just played Uno literally for like hours, like back and forth, like till I believe 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh my gosh,
it was getting hot.
Okay, so around 2 o'clock she showed up, and when she showed up, I was literally on the front porch in Brooklyn at night in the summer, blasting Lil Wayne, Lollipop, dancing around on that front porch singing Call Me So I Can Make It Juicy For You. That was literally the bulk of me being in labor. Between like 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock was just me on the deck in Brooklyn, letting my neighbors know to call me so that I can make it juicy for them. And the main tip I will give you guys is, as soon as you go into labor, you know, just like chill out for as much as possible. But as soon as you start feeling the contractions really coming more, gravity, stand up, move around, dance around, like get really comfortable in your body, because I'm telling you, doing that for such a long period of time, like just like moving my body, that helped a lot. It helped him to move down a lot. And by the time my midwife got there, you know, she checked me, and I think I was about 4 centimeters dilated, and she said, you know, let's go inside and just take a nap or something and just kind of really relax into your labor, because I think she felt like I was being a little, you know, a little too like active or something, I don't know. And so, but in my mind, I knew that it wasn't going to be a long labor. I could feel that he was like getting really low and that he was going to be there soon. So around like 3:30, I went inside in the room with my husband. We just shut out all the lights, and again, we were just dancing. Like, we were just dancing around in the room with the lights off, and it was just really romantic. Like, it was like very calm, and like the vibes were good, and we were just like kind of slow dancing.
It was definitely the right setting.
Yeah,
for him to come.
Yes, and it was really just beautiful. And we danced around for maybe about an hour till about 4:30, and then I told him, I was like, I just want to get into bed and lay down. So then around 4:30, I got into bed, I laid down, and then I woke up needing to take the biggest number 2 of my life. And I was just like, wake up, like I need you to help me get off the bed so that I can go take this really big number 2. And he's like, are you sure this isn't the baby? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. All I know is I just need to take this number 2 like right now. And that's all. And again, you know, people say with the urge to push, it feels like you need to number 2. But the first time around, because I had so many drugs in my system, I remember feeling like I needed to number 2. But with this, I mean, it was like massive, right? So I got up, and again, just, you know, bad period pains, that's all that it felt like. So I got up, I went to the bathroom, and I'm trying to poop, and like, when I tell you, like, this poop is just not coming out, but it really wants to come out. And then it occurs to me, I think that's the baby. So I called my husband to help me get out of the bathroom, to like help me stand up, because I don't even think I could stand up and like walk across the hall. And I told him, you know, get my mom and get the midwife, who she was sleeping on the couch in the living room at the time. And so he gets her. She tells us to like set up the sheets and everything, and the chucks and all that stuff. And everything. And I said, I want it on the floor. I want to do this on the floor. And so my husband sets up the sheets on the floor and everything. And the midwife said to my mom, can you get me a glass of ice water, please? My mom's like, sure, no problem. So the midwife leaves the room to get her like gadgets or whatever. And Waylon and I are the only ones left in the room, and I get down onto my hands and knees because the baby is literally coming out of me, right? So by the time I get down to the floor, I had on just like a house dress, and I still wear that house dress to today because that house dress is bomb. But yeah, I got down on the floor on my hands and knees. I bent over and I like made this sound that basically let, again, my entire neighborhood know to call me, and I can make it juicy for them. And yeah, my husband like calls out to the midwife and to my mom, and before my mom could even get to the kitchen to put the ice in the cup, and the midwife's like, okay, you know, like, he's right there, baby's right there, you're doing beautiful. And I mean, I'm hearing all these people in the back of me, because again, I'm down on my hands and knees in a doggy style position, and my husband, I can hear my husband somewhere back there, I can hear my mom, I can hear the midwife, and they're just like, I mean, you can talk about that experience, because all I remember after that is just like the internal stuff, you know, which for me, it was just like, there's something in you, it's trying to get out, and you can't even process the pain, because like, I don't remember feeling pain, which sounds like a very weird thing to say. It's like in that moment, you're just, with each contraction, you're just kind of breathing in, and you're very much aware that every contraction is helping to move it down. So it's almost like you've never in your life understood pain having a purpose more than in that moment. Like when you're a kid, like if you got a spanking or something, it's like, okay, like you learn your lesson. But with this, your body is literally showing you every minute of every contraction that pain has a purpose. It's like such a deep spiritual thing for women to get to like claim for themselves. So much of being a woman, they want you to medicate away all of your pain, but pain has its place, and pain has a divine alignment in your life. And I think that birth is supposed to be this beautiful representation of that. And so for me, the reason that I refer to my births as pain-free is because the word pain and what we recognize pain to be is not what that experience was like for me. It felt like labor. It felt like I am doing work, and the work is having an outcome, and there was a divine movement behind each feeling that I was having. And that was all the internal stuff going on with me. On their end, I can imagine things were happening pretty quickly.
I don't really remember too much except for seeing the baby's head come out, and then the baby was here, and then he was here.
It was like one push, like one hard push. And for me, that was like the smoothest. It sounds really weird to say it, but it was like, it was so smooth. Like him coming out was like I could feel every bit of it, and it was so beautiful and sensual. And it's
when
like
you pushed him out, it was just
so smooth. The minute he came out, and I remember putting my hands on him, and he felt so warm and like soft and it was just, and I
felt present.
Yes. And I'll insert some pictures here which you guys can see. I'm like super out of it, but yeah, I was holding him and he was still connected to, of course, the umbilical cord, and like I brought him up to my chest, and like that moment when I saw him, I had never seen anything that beautiful in my life. I mean, when I gave birth to my first son, like you feel that experience, you see that baby, you're like, I've never seen anything this beautiful. And then you have, and like it's like when I saw my second son, it was like, I've never seen anything this beautiful. And it's not that he's more beautiful, it's just you can't imagine having that much love inside of you again.
Right. And it's different every time.
It's different every time. And I'll talk about my other births and everything in the future, but that was really so special, being at home. And a fun fact, there were 10 other family members living in the house at the time, and no one knew that I gave birth that day. In my mind, I was being crazy loud, but it was more like guttural sounds, like those kinds of sounds. So everyone who was asleep didn't know. My husband cut the umbilical cord. I held the baby for a little bit, and then I went and took a shower while my husband held him. And our older son, who was 1.5 years, he came into the room, he met his brother. My sister came into the room, met her new nephew, and we just kind of like relaxed in bed all morning. And I drank and I ate, and my husband was like the most awesomest guy and brought me everything I needed to eat, and I was just nursing the baby all day long. I mean, it was summertime, and the sun was coming in through the window. It was just completely blissful.
It was surreal.
It was so surreal and blissful, just laying there with my 3 boys, my husband, my 2 sons. Like, I highly, oh my gosh, that moment, every woman deserves to feel how good that moment feels. And again, I was 23 and like super naive, but there was something inside of me that said I deserve to have this experience. And that particular baby, he wanted to be born at home, and so that was an amazing moment for us. And literally later on that day, when my other family members were like coming home from school, like I had younger cousins and I had an aunt who was a teacher, and like people were just like coming in, you know, just to check on me and, you know, see how I was doing. And they would come into the room and they're like, oh, how are you doing today? And I was like, oh, the baby's right there. And like he's just like in his crib, and everybody was like, when did you have him? I was like, this morning at like 5:30. And everyone was so shocked because it was just such a quiet, peaceful, like it was just it was like in the wee hours of the morning. It was just very chill. Yes. Very chill. Yeah, so that was our home birth experience. Make sure you leave any questions that you have in the comments below. I love comments. If you've never gotten a comment reply from me, I mean, that would be pretty impossible.
That's impossible.
Because I am one of those people. I am not just here to just be like, hi guys, bye guys. Like, I am genuinely always interested in other people and their experiences. So make sure you guys leave a comment down below. Alright guys, I hope that this video was helpful to you guys. Thank you so much for watching this. Our family makes videos on YouTube about being a vegan family, about being a holistic family, traveling, a little bit of everything, recipes. So,
advice on, you know, running a big family.
Yeah, so if you guys are interested in any of that, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if this video is helpful to you, make sure you hit that like button. It lets YouTube know that you found our content helpful. Thank you so much for watching this, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.